Megan's phone rang early in the morning. It was her husband, Scott. "I'm going on a trip with my sister, and I'm using your card," he said with a laugh. Megan's heart pounded. She had a feeling Scott and his sister Hillary were up to something, but this was worse than she expected. He was openly stealing from her. What Scott didn't know was that Megan had already planned for this moment. She had been waiting for the perfect time to strike back. And now, it had arrived. Megan had been patient for too long. At first, her marriage with Scott seemed normal. They went on dates, had fun, and built a life together. But after the wedding, things changed. Scott started treating her as if she was just there to serve him. His sister Hillary was even worse, bossing Megan around, demanding money, and acting like the house belonged to her. Megan worked hard at her job, but Scott always tried to bring her down. No matter what she did, it was never enough. But now, Megan had enough. It was time to end this. Megan wasn't foolish. She knew Scott would try to steal her bank card, so she planned ahead. A week before, she started collecting proof: bank statements, voice recordings, and notes signed by Hillary every time she borrowed money. And the night before Scott's trip, Megan made a smart move. She switched her bank card with an old gym membership card that looked similar. Now, Scott thought he had her money, but in reality, he had nothing. When he reached the airport and tried to withdraw cash, he would realize his mistake. And Megan? She would enjoy watching him panic. Hours later, Megan's phone buzzed. "Megan, send money. We're stuck." Scott sounded desperate. She smiled, picturing him standing at an ATM, confused. "Didn't you take my card?" she asked sweetly. "Stop playing dumb. You tricked me," he yelled. Megan laughed. "No, Scott. You tricked yourself." And with that, she hung up. She wasn't going to help him. Not this time. For years, she had given him everything. But now? She was done. Megan poured herself a cup of coffee, feeling lighter than she had in years. Scott thought he was the smart one. But today, Megan had won. Later that day, Megan's phone rang again. This time, it was Ethan, Hillary's husband. "Megan, I need to talk," he said seriously. "Hillary has been acting weird, sneaking out, lying about where she's going. I think she's up to something." Megan sighed. "Ethan, you need to hear this," she said. For the next 30 minutes, she told him everything. How Scott and Hillary had been using her, stealing money, and planning the trip behind her back. There was silence. Then Ethan said, "I think it's time we stop them." Megan agreed. It was time to fight back. Megan and Ethan started working together. Ethan had already gathered proof of Hillary's lies. She had been using the money Megan lent her to buy expensive designer bags and party at fancy clubs. And Scott? He had been spending Megan's money on gifts for other women. Megan's stomach turned. She had wasted years on this man. But no more. She was ready to get back everything they stole from her. Ethan felt the same way. "Let's make them regret it," he said. Megan nodded. They were about to turn the tables. Megan met with a lawyer to finalize her divorce. "This is strong evidence," the lawyer told her. "You can get back every dollar they took." Megan smiled. That was exactly what she wanted. Scott had taken $88,000 from her savings. Now, she was going to make sure he paid her back. Meanwhile, Ethan was filing for divorce from Hillary. The plan was set. Scott and Hillary had no idea what was coming. Megan felt no guilt. They had lied, stolen, and humiliated her for too long. Now, it was their turn to suffer. The next day, Scott barged into the house, slamming the door. "What the hell did you do?" he yelled. Megan stayed calm. "I stopped being your bank," she said. "You stole from me, Scott. That's illegal." Scott scoffed. "You're my wife. Your money is my money." Megan raised an eyebrow. Then your money is mine too, right? She slid divorce papers across the table. Scott's face turned pale. No, he whispered. Oh, and one more thing, Megan added. You're being sued for fraud. Scott's mouth opened, but no words came out. For the first time, he was truly scared. The doorbell rang. Hillary stormed inside, her face red. Megan, you snake! How dare you turn Ethan against me? She screamed. Ethan stepped forward. You did that yourself, Hillary. You lied. You stole. You're a terrible wife. He threw divorce papers at her. Hillary gasped. No, Ethan, you can't do this. I already did, he replied coldly. Megan crossed her arms. You two thought you could control us, but guess what? We're done. Hillary's eyes widened. She looked around, realizing she had no power anymore. For the first time, she looked truly afraid. Scott and Hillary were trapped. The court ordered them to repay everything. Scott owed Megan $115,000 and Hillary owed Ethan $31,000. Since they had no money left, they had to sell Scott's house. Megan watched as movers packed his things. You did this, Scott hissed. No, Scott, you did this to yourself, Megan replied. Hillary sobbed. Ethan, please don't leave me. But Ethan only shook his head. Goodbye, Hillary. Their game was over. A week later, Scott called Megan. Megan, please, let's start over, he pleaded. Megan laughed. Start over? You mean you stealing from me again? No thanks. Scott sounded broken. I lost everything. Megan felt nothing for him anymore. You lost it because you were greedy, Scott. Now live with it. She hung up. Minutes later, Hillary texted her. Megan, let's talk. We're still family. Megan didn't even open the message. She was finally free. Megan moved into a new apartment, a space that was finally hers alone. No more arguments, no more stress. She could finally breathe. Her career was going well, and with Scott out of the picture, she had full control of her finances. She no longer had to worry about someone stealing from her. Meanwhile, Scott was struggling. His company found out about his behavior, and his reputation was ruined. He was transferred to a lower-paying position, while Hillary faced legal trouble for unpaid debts. Megan felt no pity. They had made their choices, and now they were facing the consequences. One afternoon, Megan's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Scott. She rolled her eyes but decided to answer out of curiosity. Megan, I miss you. Can we talk? His voice sounded desperate. Megan smirked. Talk about what, Scott? How you stole from me? How you betrayed me? He sighed. I made mistakes, but I realize now how much I need you. Megan laughed. Scott, you needed me as a bank, not as a wife. There was silence. Please, Megan, give me another chance. She shook her head. No, Scott, you made your choice. Now live with it. She hung up. A few days later, another message arrived, this time from Hillary. Megan hesitated before reading it. Megan, let's start over. We're still family, right? Maybe we had some misunderstandings. Let's talk. Megan scoffed. Family? Hillary had treated her like dirt, used her for money, and humiliated her every chance she got. There was no misunderstanding, just pure selfishness. Megan didn't bother responding. Instead, she blocked Hillary's number. There was no point in looking back. She had fought hard to free herself from these toxic people, and she wasn't about to let them back into her life. Megan focused on herself, and it paid off. She was promoted to head of her department, something she had worked toward for years. Without Scott dragging her down, she felt lighter, happier. She treated herself to a vacation, something she had always put off because she had to support Scott and Hillary. But now she was free. Meanwhile, Scott and Hillary were nowhere to be seen. Megan heard rumors that Scott was struggling financially, while Hillary was drowning in debt. Megan didn't care. They were just a bad memory now. Her future was bright, and that's all that mattered. One evening, Megan met Ethan for dinner. They had become good friends after everything they had gone through. They laughed, enjoying their meal. "Life is so much better without them," Ethan said with a smile. Megan nodded. "I never thought I'd feel this free." Ethan looked at her thoughtfully. "You deserve it, Megan. You fought for this." She smiled. For years, she had lived in a nightmare, but now that was all in the past. "Here's to new beginnings," she said, raising her glass. As they clinked glasses, she knew her best years were just beginning.